So today we're going to talk about where ghosts live. And when I say ghosts, I mean ghost, poltergeist, hungry ghosts, um, negative entities, any beings that have left their body but have not ascended into spirit. So they're kind of in between, right? They're not in the body, but they're not in spirit. And so we're going to talk about exactly what that means, where they are, how we can find them, and how we can move them on to where they need to go. Hi, I'm Tamala with your Empowerment Place. I'm a psychic, a medium, a channel, and everything I do is about personal empowerment. Now, 4D is where the ghosts live. So now I want to talk about the dimensions just really quickly. First dimension is just a dot or a point. Second dimension is a plane, so it's length times width. Third dimension is 3D, that's the physical experience that we're having. That's length times width times height, so we have 3 dimensions to ourselves. The fourth dimension adds time to that. And the fifth dimension is spirit and above. Okay. So we're just going to stick with those dimensions for today because that's all that's necessary. We're going to touch on third, fourth, and fifth. So third dimension is where our physical body is where we interact in the physical plane, in the earthly plane, right? This is where we're having our experience in the third dimension. When we're in a body, we're in the third dimension. When we're not in a body, we are not in the third dimension. So where do we go? Well, there's 2 options that we know of right now. There is the fourth dimension, which is in that dimension where time exists, but we're no longer in a body. This is where our thoughts are, right? The thought realm is the fourth dimension. The emotions, people talk about, the different planes. There's the physical plane, there's the emotional plane, there's the thought plane, right? Emotional body, mental body. The emotions are what connect our physical body to our thoughts. So if we're having a physical experience, we have an emotion, which then has a thought, which gives us an emotion, which causes us to take action. It's kind of how it works. Now, it can start in different places. It can start with an emotion that gives a thought, that gives another emotion, that gives an action, right? You understand. So, but these 3 work together. Our emotions are not technically in the fourth dimension, though most of the time when I talk about 4D, I include the emotions because they're not physical. They're not our physical body, okay? They're in that state outside of the physical body, but we feel them in our physical body. I have a video that explains all about this third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension stuff, and I'll link that below. So the physical body, the emotional body where we have our emotions, and then our thoughts, our mental body, the mental body is 4D. Now 4D is where the ghosts live because they are not in a body, 3D, and they're not in spirit, which is 5D. So that's the place they have to go, right? So when I'm working in 5D, I work in the Akashic Records. One of the things that I do is in the Akashic Records. And when I'm there in 5D, I can see and interact with all the dimensions below that, right? So we work from the top down. 5D can see down, right? 4D can see down and interact down. So when I'm in the Akashic Records in 5D, I can see what's happening in the fourth dimension, in the mental body, in the emotional body between, in that between space, and in the physical body. Okay. So when these beings that are not in a body but aren't in spirit are in this fourth dimensional space, they are trapped. They're stuck. They don't see a way out, and They need to survive. And the way they survive is by plugging into people who are still in a body. They also can plug into places depending on what kind of energy they work with. Some some beings like ghosts and hungry ghosts usually attach to people. Other things like poltergeists usually attached to places, right? So it all depends on the type of being that it is, how they fuel their energy systems, how they stay alive. Will depend on whether they attach to people or to places, but they have to attach to something to maintain their power, to maintain their energy, to maintain their energetic resources so that they can still exist. Okay. Now, if you find a ghost, a hungry ghost, a poltergeist, um, negative entities, negative beings, anything that is in this 4D area that you know doesn't belong there and that needs to be moved into a different place, which would be the fifth dimension. There's ways that you do that. You call in the light, you call in the angels, you ask them that they be transported to the astral plane, because that's what we're talking about, that's right for them. Whatever their next place to be, where they're supposed to be, that they be sent there. Okay. It's easier for 3D, for human beings to do that than the 4D people because they're in a lot of pain. And I know that because back several years ago, I was in a major breath work meditation session, and we were meditating on the different dimensions. And during this meditation, I was whisked behind the veil. And literally, I was outside of my physical body. And I was looking at this kind of movie screen. I was on the other side of the screen. There were other beings there, and they were watching the people on the screen, which was like I could see into the room where all of us were doing the breathwork session. And immediately I felt this huge, enormous wave of pain, like violent pain, because I was separated from emotions. And I know that sounds strange. I was separated from my body. That was, kind of like, I need to get back in my body before I die, right? But that wasn't where the pain was coming from. The pain was coming from I was separated from my emotions. I couldn't feel anything. And so my being, whatever it was, the aspect of me that was separated, was feeling the intense pain and loss, that separation of being separated from my emotions. And I I started begging, just begging, please, please send me back, send me back, send me back. This is too painful. This is too painful. I can't do this. It's too painful. Right. Now, there wasn't a light anywhere. I wasn't dying. It was just an experience that I had. I went, I had this experience, and then I came back into my body. And for years, I didn't know where I went. I just knew I was whisked behind the veil. I knew I went behind the veil. It was very clear. I knew that there was an experience happening that was between heaven and earth, that between 3D and 5D, where beings were having this experience of watching us on this screen like thing and interacting, but also being in this state of pain or agony because they were separated from the emotional body. And so when beings, these ghosts, poltergeists, negative beings, earthbound spirits, people who have not transitioned all the way to spirit after they leave their body, they are in a quest to connect to some person or some place so that they can maintain energy to stay alive And when they connect, they also get to interact with the mental and emotional bodies. And so that means that they're able to draw juice from the thought plane. They're able to draw juice or power from the emotional plane, right? From the emotional body, the mental body. And they're also able to communicate with us through our thoughts and emotions. So if you start having thoughts or emotions that are not yours, if you're like, where did that come from? You want to tap in and see, is there an earthbound spirit or someone, something, even a viral entity can be there, something that is not me, that's attached to me, that is using my energy right now. Because when they're like leeches, right? When they plug into us, they're sucking out, right, our energy. But when they're attached to us, they also give us something, right? That's the way these things work. When you plug into something, there's something given and something taken, right? That's what completes a circuit. And so when they're plugged into us, they're plugged in to receive, but they're also giving, which means that if they're a negative entity, because not all of these are negative entities, earthbound spirits are just spirits that didn't finish the process. Maybe it's someone's grandma passed away and she didn't want to go into the light right away because she was scared to leave her children or grandchildren, right? That doesn't make her negative. It just means she hasn't gone where she needs to go. So we complete that process. But there are negative entities, there are negative beings, there are things that thrive by stealing energy from other people, right? Energy vampires and so forth. And when they plug in, even the earthbound spirits, when they plug in, you feel what they feel, you think what they think, and you can have dreams or experiences that are not yours. And you're like, well, where did that come from? Most likely it's from these attached entities. Now, remember, in 3D, we're always in present time. This is the present time third dimensional experience. I'm in a human body. I'm currently saying this right now. And now I'm saying this right now, right? That's the present moment. 4D, where we add time, means that we can go back and forth through time. We do that with our emotions. We can feel how we felt when we were a child. We can feel how we'll feel in the future if this experience happens for us. It also happens in the mental body because we can think or remember how things were 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or we can think or imagine how they'll be in the future 20 years from now, right? We can go back and forth through time. So can these earthbound spirits, ghosts, poltergeists, so forth, because they're in 4D. Now, people ask about demons. Where are they? They are like angels. They can be in multi dimensions, third, fourth, fifth, and above. I have experienced them up to the sixth dimension. I don't know if they go higher than that. Maybe they do, but they also can go third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimensions. So the big thing to remember about the fourth dimension is the fourth dimension is also the place where we make change. That's where we begin to make changes in our lives. We start with our thoughts, which is 4D, our emotions, which is in the between, and then we take action in the third dimension, right? So when we're trying to change our life or our life experience, our human experience, it will start in 4D. Okay, thoughts. We change our beliefs. We change our illusions and delusions. We change what we think. Then we have emotions that juice us into movement. And then we take that movement or make that change in our third dimensional physical experience. So, why am I explaining all this to you? Well, it's because sometimes if you're having trouble changing, if you're having trouble doing something new, it might not just be because it's new and different. We do have the element of the ego saboteur, which keeps us where we are, safe and sound, and it doesn't like change. So, there's an element of that. But there's also the element of if we have connections with other beings, whether they're in a body or not in a body, those connections are draining our energetic resources. So it makes us less able to take steps in our third dimensional physical experience because we have less energy to do it, right? And change takes effort. We got to stop the ship and turn it in a new direction and head that way, right? It takes a lot of mental and emotional and physical resources to change our lives. Now, if we are having an experience that is difficult and we're doing our thoughts and we're doing our emotions and we're taking our action and we're feeling aligned, like we're doing our soul purpose, and we're still struggling or we don't have the energy to do it, it might be that you have a negative entity attachment. Okay. They're all around us. We just don't see them because they're in the fourth dimension. You can get viral entities that will make you sick. You can have flare ups of chronic diseases, and they will hold an energetic vibration. So let's say anytime you get angry, your arthritis acts up. Okay. That's because that particular viral entity is fed through anger. And when it plugged into you in the fourth dimension, because that's where it lives, it plugs into your third dimension, your physical body. Maybe it plugged in at your joints. And so every time you get angry, it inflames to make you more angry to feed it. And then the inflammation shows up in your joints. And then you have arthritis. That's a real thing. I know it sounds weird. It's really true. That's just one example. And I have helped people clear out these negative entities, these viral entities, these ghosts, hungry ghosts, poltergeists, all of this for the last almost 13 years. And so it's a real thing. And when we clear these out, people feel incredibly better, like way better, like hugely better, transformed better, because it really makes a difference to get rid of these fourth dimensional beings that don't need to be feeding off of you and draining your energy and then impacting you or influencing you to have thoughts that are not your own, emotions that are not your own, or physical symptoms that are not your own. So I know I've said a lot, I've crammed a lot in this short little video, and that's okay. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below because I would love to explain or go into more detail on anything that you want to know more about. I just need to know what you want to know more about. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and also share this with anyone that you think could benefit. If you want to have a session with me or you want to check and see if you have any viral entities, head over to my website at yourempowermentplace.com. Sign up for a 1-hour session and I'll be able to help you.